When Babies Don't Come is a documentary that explores and breaks the silence on infertility in black communities. The main character in the documentary is Molatelo Mainetjie, who tells the story that many women are afraid to tell. When Babies Don't Come explores more than just an examination of science and modern medicine, it's also an exploration of how Molatelo manages to juggle between her rural and her city life. Now, this documentary serves a purpose of empowering women living with infertility and to get women in black communities to come out and bring awareness about this topic. But to tell us more, we joined by our Limpopo studios by Molatelo. A very good morning to you and a warm welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning, Simpiwe, and good morning to your viewers.
It's an absolute pleasure having you. And now, infertility is not always a topic that is widely spoken about in communities. So why do you think it is important to tell stories about infertility?
When I learned about my infertility back in 2006, I felt a need to break the silence about the condition, because we all know that infertility is an open secret. We all know it exists within our families, within our communities, but no one wants to come out and talk about this issue. And we know women, we know men, that when we talk infertility, we don't talk about men. That's why I will keep referring to women at this point. We know people that are affected by this condition, but no one wants to talk about it. It remains stigmatized. So when I learned about my infertility back in 2006, I felt a need actually, but I first wrestled with this idea for 2 years before I came out, until in 2007 when I decided I think it's time for me to open up and start talking about this condition that no one wants to talk about.
Now, Molatelo, it is a sad reality. In extreme cases, the issue of fertility often breaks up homes, it destroys marriages, and, so many things happen as a result of infertility. And infertility can happen to anybody, be it black or white, but then you chose to focus on the black communities. Why is that?
I think it's also because of, where I come from. I had these experiences where, just because you are a woman who is struggling to give birth, who is childless, you start being called names, and that we know is prevalent in our black communities. As a black rural girl who lives both in rural area, Block 5 where I come from, in Namjaji, and also in Johannesburg, in the big city of Johannesburg, I realized that the way we treat this condition is different. When I'm in Johannesburg, I'm out and about, and I don't feel the pressure as much as when I go back home, where the minute I set my foot there, I'm being reminded of this condition day in, day out. Sometimes it's deliberate, sometimes it's not. I'll give you an example, Simpiwe. I come from a family of 6, 5 girls and one boy. And all my 4 sisters are mothers, and I'm the firstborn. So at home, when you're a mother, you stop being called Molatelo. And they start calling you so-and-so's mother, so-and-so's mother. So at home, the minute I step in my home, the fact that they stop calling my sisters, I hope they're not taking it personal. the fact that they stop calling them by name, and they start calling them by so and so's mother, and with me it's Molatelo, and I'm the firstborn. So that alone starts making me feel, it does reminds me of my condition.
And you lose your
like
self-esteem.
I say, sometimes it's deliberate, but sometimes it's not.
Yeah, and it has the
True.
potential
Very
of,
true.
it has
You know,
the
you start
potential
asking
of
yourself-
breaking you down and asking yourself, you would think you look at yourself as less of a woman than you actually are. And, it is also that there's that possibility of families resorting to the polygamy route, not because of their own volition, but because they're being forced by circumstances. And this documentary, Molatelo, also sees you seeking medical assistance, the high costs and the emotional strain brought upon you by your family's dissatisfaction, your Western methods of having a child. How has that impacted you, if at all?
Wow, infertility treatment is very expensive in South Africa, especially because, our medical aid schemes, the companies, they don't fund infertility. They may fund the diagnosis, but they don't fund treatment. And it's a very costly exercise, especially if you're going to go the route of IVF, which is in vitro fertilization. Back in 2006, the first cycle that I did, I paid about 25,000 rand. And then the 2007, which is the second IVF cycle that I did, cost me about 36,000 rand. So the latest one that we tried doing with my husband last year, that was 2017, the estimate, including the procedure that I had to go through before we could start with the actual treatment, they quoted us between 130 and 140,000 rand. So a normal woman, a normal family as we are, we just could not afford that. So while you're dealing with the stigma of infertility, but we also, on the side, having to bear the brunt of the high cost of infertility treatments.
You are such a brave woman, Molatelo, and we really appreciate your time and, for empowering and inspiring women in the same position as you. And for those who are interested in getting hold of this documentary, how do they do that?
Okay, When Babies Don't Come is currently screening at film festivals around the world. It has won 2 international awards and nominated for the Africa Movie Academy Awards to take place on the 22nd of September in Rwanda. But also we have free screenings that are organized. For instance, Infertility Awareness Association of South Africa is going to host a screening on the 28th of October at the Bioscope at Maboneng Precinct at 12 o'clock noon. So those who are interested can actually come and watch the film on the 28th of October.
All right, Molatelo, thank you so much for sharing your story and for coming through this morning. We really appreciate your time. Well, that was Molatelo talking to us about the documentary When Babies Don't Come. Now, this documentary aims to focus on infertility and it breaks the silence on infertility, particularly in black communities.